he comes back, do we just act like we're already in it? Already started the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Thanks for joining us today. Hope you guys are doing well. Guys, what's going on? I'm just kidding.
Everyone should shut up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Odd Testament podcast. My name is Ryan.
My name's Eric.
I'm Greg, and I'm angry today. I'm frustrated.
Well, Greg, we're glad
What
you're
now?
here.
What now? I know we're in a peaceful culture where there's no unrest in any way, but I am frustrated today. I'm sorry to push back against the current political climate that is just an utter, just Eden-like now. But
Man, I should have asked the 100 Brits, 100 Americans question today instead of last time. So I feel like
100 Brits and me
answer.
against me.
Well, whether you are exploring faith, you're looking for a new perspective on Scripture, or you're just here for a laugh, you're in the right place. This is the place where we dive into the weird, strange, odd stories of the Bible. So glad you're here, boys. I'm glad you're able to jump on today. What's new this week? What's going on? This is episode 16. How we feeling?
Yeah,
Ryan,
sweet
did you ever
16.
say the term "what's cracking"?
I think I
Just-
said
just
it
a-
once and felt like a douche, so like decided that wasn't for me. So
So
It's-
here's the thing that does feel like a frat boy thing, and all of us missed the frat boy phase of our young adulthood. Like I didn't go to college outside of some seminary stuff. Ryan, you did a similar the same discipleship program, and then did seminary stuff after that. And then Greg, you were father of twins coming out of war. You had your frat boy phase in Iraq.
Yep.
So I don't think we
it.
got what's cracking in our like day-to-day lingo here. So
Nice.
yeah.
I did go through the tight phase for sure. Like
That's
how
tight,
instead
yeah.
of cool,
Oh, yeah.
everything's tight.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, type
Yeah.
makes
Like-
sense.
Man,
I
missed that.
adopted a term from way back and probably still keep it. Do you dig that?
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yeah. I like things that aren't too weird, but also are a little different.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I dig that.
Yeah.
Have you incorporated bet into your vocabulary? Like it's actually old now. But
I haven't.
it's,
I like it.
Yeah.
though.
So it's like when something is like true
Mm-hmm.
or like it's worth betting on. You're gonna get you know it's gonna be 100% win on there. Like bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, let's do it.
Hey, we're gonna go to the game. You coming?
Yeah. Bet.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Like so.
I
Brian.
I tried incorporating,
Didn't work.
but it just didn't feel right. I felt old, and so
Yeah.
it's like
when a
that's
bunch
not
of people
me,
are
so.
saying it, yeah, for some reason I'm okay with bet, but 100 right now 100%.
100% is my yeah.
Yeah.
I do that. Let's go is
yeah.
I mean I think that's going to be a forever one. You know,
Yeah.
it's the perfect exclamation to like anything that's exciting. Is let's go. Like it's the best. Like it's my
Yeah.
favorite when my son scores a touchdown. You know, like. You know, my youngest is like obsessed with bicycles right now, and we got like a little, you know, training wheel bicycle from a thrift store, and he's just riding it and showing me, and I'm like, let's go! Like that's my favorite one.
We got to get them. That anyway, different stuff.
Good. It's good.
Yeah,
That's on us.
Well,
But
now that we all feel sufficiently older,
bet
trendier.
do you guys? Yeah.
100%, 100%. I'm
You
gonna
guys
try
know what
and
it's time.
work in.
Do you guys know what it's time for?
Getting to know you, getting to know you, getting to know you, getting to know you.
getting to know you.
It's gonna
No
say
cap.
Tool time.
No cap.
Tool. Oh gosh, that's a
cap.
blast from the past, man.
I'm having
Okay,
fun.
so for getting to know you, I wanted to set it up with a video I saw. Again, I already let Eric preview it, but it's not a video, but the audio from the video. So here we go.
Bro, I'm gonna start cussing people out, bro. Like, but with like biblical words, like, like, I hope your crops wither and bear no fruits, and I hope the ravens eat your mustard seeds.
Here, okay.
So guys, what is your favorite biblical insult, or if you were going to actually curse somebody out without using curse words, what would you say? What would your thing be?
Yeah, just don't start adding the other things into it. I've always liked you brood of vipers. That's that's the you whitewashed tombs, you brood.
Whitewashed
of vipers.
sepulchres. Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah,
You stole my
sepulchres.
next one then off that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No. I'm having to look up one. I'm trying to think of different times. Yeah, I'm blanking because I'm
Something was
in between two.
insult worthy.
Yeah. So, go on somewhere. Sometime when you're talking about something serious, I'll come up with. With
Okay, so this one's mine, and I just the very first the very first time I ever read this passage, it was funny. I was a first year master's commission student, and Toby Schneckloth, who was a pastor at Bellevue Christian Center at the time, came into me and he just goes, "Hey, go read Ezekiel 23:20," and so I did, and I was like, "What on earth is this book that we're supposed to be reading?" And so this is Ezekiel 23:20, and it's talking about unfaithful Israel, how Israel is not faithful to God, and compares Israel to a prostitute. And this is what it says: Israel, she lusted after her lovers with genitals as large as a donkey's and emissions like those of a horse. Like,
That's not an insult. That's a compliment.
Yeah, it is. Hey.
I didn't know we were talking about biblical compliments. Now there's that's a whole other side. You can say those in aggressive ways for sure. Yeah.
So that would be mine.
I also like the like back and forth between David and Goliath. I like you uncircumcised Philistine.
Yeah.
Like this like sign of impurity. Like the
Okay, one that we'll have to get into, a story we'll have to get into at some point, just not today, but that I never really understood why this was such a big deal. The insult in First Kings, I believe it's First Kings, where Elisha's walking, and these kids come out of nowhere, and they said, "Go on up, bald head," and he gets upset with that that he calls down a curse, and bears come out and maul 42 kids. I'm like, yo.
I almost did that episode a couple weeks ago, but it's good to know that's
Nice.
on your list. So
Yes.
Nice.
No, that's a good
I think
one.
it's Isaiah calls people. It doesn't matter. Calls them the cows of Bashan, and he's it's a place, Bashan is, and he's really raking them over the coals about their we live in luxury, and while other people are living in utter poverty and just unable, and we don't care. Almost Hunger Games capital kind of behavior, and so he calls them cows. I thought that was funny. Now, not biblical, not Bible. Man, that word. So that'll be my insult for people. You use the word biblical. You'd be like, what? You don't even know what I just said. Yeah, anyway, the French guy in Monty Python's Holy Grail, which Ryan's gonna be like, what? It's a movie.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, you have to. Well, I have to send you that clip. But anyway, your mother was a hamster. Your father smelt of elderberries, and I fart in your general direction. And Shut your festering gob.
Those are good.
Oh yeah, and he like runs on him. It's so funny. The you saw VeggieTales with the little guy on the screaming down.
Peas. Yeah,
They got that from Monty Python. Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
I'm looking some stuff up to see if it was the Book of Amos, the Cows of Bashan.
Oh, there you go.
And see, Ryan, do you have any others that you like?
Yes. So I actually made a list.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yes, here we go. So, all right, I categorized them too. So, here we go. Oh, so in the form of, okay, so this is what I did actually. I had ChatGPT come up with some biblical themed Yo Mama jokes. So,
Nice. That's the
some of
correct
them are-
usage. Thank you. You're using
Yes,
it
yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
That is what AI is supposed to
AS
do.
for yes.
some of them are good, some of them are cheesy, that kind of thing. But okay, so first one, Yo Mama so old she got kicked out of Eden for seniority. Yo Mama so ugly even Job's boils look better. This is Chat GPT, okay? And last one I'll do.
This
Yo
is
Mama
Bible
so
humor,
lazy-
y'all.
Yeah, right. Yo Mama so lazy she makes the sluggard look like a workaholic. Thank you, Chat GPT.
That's awesome.
I think that's you have to like take the biblical story and use like the framework of like the Your Mama joke. Like, you so dumb, God's got to use a donkey to talk to you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like,
Cool. Well, guys, thanks for humoring me and entertaining me too, frankly. So
Here's one more.
Yeah,
just
do it.
fun, is you son of a perverse and rebellious woman.
that's good. That's good. Okay, boys. As difficult as it may be, we're gonna move on to our discussion.
do
But
it.
first, to get started, we're gonna play our 7 questions games.
Yes.
7 questions game. You got 7 questions to try to guess what today's episode is gonna be about. So, who wants to start?
I want to use one of the questions and go, so did you say 7 questions? That doesn't count. Anyway, all right. Is it Old Testament?
Yes.
okay, is it a prophet?
It's not a book of the
Okay.
of a prophet.
Okay,
Is it Samuel?
Yes.
ooh, okay. Oh boy, I'm like going through all of the stuff. Is it Samuel as a child hearing the voice of God?
No.
Okay.
I got stuck on that one. All right. We're 4 in. We got 3 more. Is it Samuel killing all those people after a battle? Saul doesn't do what he's supposed to do, so Samuel does it?
No.
Jeez.
2 more.
Yeah. I'm like running through like what other Samuel. Man, I'm spaced. I'm sorry. You got something
Is it the witch and the Ewoks?
It is.
nice.
It
There we
is.
go.
The witch
it
at
is.
Endor. Okay.
Yes, the Witch of Endor. 1 Samuel chapter 28. So I'm going to try something a little different. So normally when I think usually when all of us read, we read a little bit and then we kind of talk about it a little bit, then we keep reading. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to read the whole chunk and then we'll come back. Does that work
Cool.
for you guys?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Cool. So, okay. So, David is on the run from Saul. Saul's gone crazy, and David's on the run, and he actually makes his way over to the Philistine side of things. And the king of the Philistines is basically tells David, "I'm going to make you my bodyguard." And David's like, bet. Okay. And
Nice.
and so now the king of the Philistines, he's getting ready to go to war with Israel, and Saul catches wind of this, and he's kind of freaking out, and that's kind of where we pick up. 1 Samuel chapter 28, starting in verse 10. But Saul took an oath in the name of the Lord and promised, "As surely as the Lord lives, nothing bad will happen to you for doing this." So, okay, I know I just said I was going to read the whole thing, but I forgot to mention this part. He goes to a witch, because he wants to know what's going to happen. He's not hearing from the Lord, and he wants to know what's going to happen, and so he wants to go to this witch to get her to do something that's illegal. He made a law against this thing, but he's going to disguise himself and go to this witch and say, "Hey, do this thing for me." But Saul took an oath in the name of the Lord and promised, "As surely as the Lord lives, nothing bad will happen to you for doing this." Finally, the woman said, "Well, whose spirit do you want me to call up?" "Call up Samuel," Saul replied. When the woman saw Samuel, she screamed, "You deceived me. You are Saul." "Don't be afraid," the king told her. "What do you see?" "I see a god coming up out of the earth," she said. "What does he look like?" Saul asked. "He is an old man wrapped in a robe," she replied. Saul realized it was Samuel, and he fell to the ground before him. "Why have you disturbed me by calling me back?" Samuel asked Saul. "Because I am in deep trouble," Saul replied. "The Philistines are at war with me, and God has left me and won't reply by prophets or dreams. So I have called for you to tell me what to do." But Samuel replied, "Why ask me, since the Lord has left you and has become your enemy? The Lord has done just as he said he would. He has torn the kingdom from you and given it to your rival David. The Lord has done this to you today because you refused to carry out his fierce anger against the Amalekites. What's more, the Lord will hand you to the army of Israel you and the army of Israel over to the Philistines tomorrow, and you and your sons will be here with me. The Lord will bring down the entire army of Israel in defeat." Saul fell full length on the ground, paralyzed with fright because of Samuel's words. So Samuel had died, and Saul is getting ready to go to war with the Philistines, but he's freaking out because he can't hear from God, and so he wants to hear from what Samuel's gonna say. Like, tell me what to do, but Samuel's dead. So he goes to this witch to conjure up the spirit of Samuel, and Samuel has this interaction with Saul and tells him, this time tomorrow, you're gonna be with me. So like, what are your guys' initial thoughts on this? Like, have you ever heard this story before? Have you studied this story before? Like, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't done a ton of studying on this story, not for any particular reason outside of just I haven't like messed around with it too much. Obviously I've read it but I haven't preached on it or done any extracurricular studying on those things. And so but yes, this is definitely an interesting story. We see a lot of different ideas being put forth here, as far as like power of divination in someone outside of God's gift, and what he gives. We also get then some sort of understanding of the dead and where dead go, and is it ghosts and things like that. More importantly, this is a story about Saul losing the kingdom and how far he has gone, how far he has fallen into where he's at, that he's knocking at the gates of hell now in order to find answers. So that's yes.
Yeah,
Good.
That's,
what do you think?
in my opinion, that is the main point of the story. He's gone. He's completely lost his way. He's desperate to find some answers, He has no longer access to prophets. He's not hearing from Yahweh, so he's going in another direction, exactly like Eric said. And then that he can't change what has been decreed about him. That how many movies now are about this? Can I change my fate or whatever? And I don't think that I don't want to make that this is about fate is unchangeable or anything like that. That's a different conversation. But in this case, what God has decreed, that's the way it is. So yeah.
Yeah. So in verse 10, Saul makes an oath to her. As surely as the Lord lives, nothing bad will happen to you for doing this. Like, there's a law that he made forbidding what he's asking her to do. Why did he go to, like, I think you just answered it a little bit, Greg, but why would, like, what brought him to this point where he's now, because as far as like Mosaical law, right? Like in Deuteronomy, like this is strictly forbidden. Divination, the use of mediums, the use of psychic, all that, like strictly for. But why do you think like what brought him to this point to where he was the first anointed king of Israel and now he's doing this? Like what brought him to this point? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, just going through the backstory of Saul, and we see, his call, his anointing done by Samuel, and then whenever he has his intro into disobedience, but somewhat we've actually talked about this a little bit in a previous episode, but his reliance on what people think about him, his own pride, just all of this stuff. And to be honest, I mean, the only examples of kingship outside of Yahweh is a whole lot of other neighboring nations. And so it seems like he's, as he gets more and more insecure, and that insecurity comes from there is a very big enemy after him his entire kinghood, and he goes through all this stuff, and then immediately what adds to his insecurities, he loses the lineage aspect of kingship, and it's going to go to David. And then now there's people who have respected David, they're honoring him, Samuel is rebuking him again. There just seems to be all this stuff, but yet still Samuel is still speaking on behalf of God to him, and so he's been really reliant on Samuel being this emissary from the kingdom of heaven to his kingdom, and now he doesn't have that. And what does that mean now? There's this invading nation that has been there his entire time. What to do now? And just like the intro of the story is his greatest enemy, which is not the Philistines in his mind, it's David, is now on the other side. Like he's without his prophet, he's without the emissary from God. He has been defeated, he's been dejected, he's at this lowest point, and then his most fearful enemy, or the person that he fears the most, is working with the large enemy that has been against him his entire time. He's in his lowest, most desperate place.
That's good.
Yeah, and quality of person, it doesn't seem. I mean, without being there, I've learned enough about empathy to not overdo this. But just on the data that we have, he's not that guy. He looks kingly, is the reason he seems to be accepted. But his selection is a rejection of Yahweh by people, is the way it's framed. And
back in 1 Samuel 8.
Yeah, you have Samuel, who's the last judge. So Judges, and then the next book is 1 Samuel. And it says he's the judge, and he's their best one. And so he's a significant person, and he's even brokenhearted over Saul's fall. but he doesn't disagree with it. Whatever Saul's has done. In our eyes, sometimes we read these stories and go, oh, it's not that big a deal. Or what he was asked to do was, violent, but we're reading it through our own lens. And just trying to keep it short because I'm having ideas while I'm trying to illustrate it. But we're reading through our own lens. So anyway, but whatever he's done, someone who truly cares about him goes, you done messed up, Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron!
You done messed up is the setup. And it's sad, it's unfortunate, and he does not have the tools. The people, it looks like God selected this, but God gave them what they wanted. And the people selected somebody who didn't have the qualities and initially knew he didn't have the qualities. He did not want to be king. And it was thrust upon him. I don't want to say forced. It was close to that. But it took a little while for him to finally step into the sort of the authority of king. And it was needed at the time, but right out of the gate, he was making decisions that weren't Yahweh reliant. But he began to act like one of the old judges.
Weren't the qualities that they used to pick him, like he was head and shoulders above everybody else, like actual physical stature, and then like he was handsome or something like that?
Yeah. That's what was quoted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
and that's
crazy.
And it's then
Is it though?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been doing that ever since, really, right? I mean, here's like I don't know the validity of this, but I think there's like an old story of as some of our founding fathers were looking around for who's going to be president, and George Washington is there in uniform, and he's described and he's portrayed as this larger than life figure. That he was kind of a grisly dude, wooden teeth. He was slow to speak, but he was very powerful figure, very powerful presence. And they go, how about that guy? Like he seems to know. I think we kind of lucked out with him in a couple of different ways. But if that kind of old adage is true, but yeah, I mean, we look at that, and then if you contrast that versus how David is anointed, then is God's response to Samuel is, I don't look at what men look like or look at. I look at the heart. I look at who he's going to be and who he is right now. And so it's an interesting, like, what we're naturally going to look for is, who looks like they can take authority, or whose personality type is developed to do that. And God often takes the people who don't look that are going to be typical and does something amazing with them. So, but then we also get David is described as being very handsome and talented, and obviously a great warrior. So it's not that those qualities. I'm not trying to say that great leaders can't be good looking or talented or excellent, or I think that's actually a quality that is I think that is a quality of people. But if that's only what we're looking at, man, we're really missing it. And
which pushes on God doesn't look at what man looks like when he's looking, because Samuel goes to select David. He doesn't know he's selecting David, one of the sons of Jesse, and the first one walks in, and even Samuel's like, "Oh, this guy looks kingly," the oldest son, and so God looks at the heart, and that's the push.
Yeah, absolutely.
What leadership principles can we pull from not just this story, but like from Saul's life, from Saul's time as king? Because I feel like there's big things that we can pull from. Like, I mean, Saul forgot who anointed him, right? He forgot who was actually running it, and I just think about things like that. Like, what's maybe one or two, like, big principles you guys think we could pull from this that can apply to us today?
Of his whole life?
Yeah, or not just this story, but yeah, like
Yeah.
the whole existence of Saul, and this is, we're kind of leaving this discussion for the moment, but it's just a thought that I had, and I just
Yeah,
am
yeah.
curious what
It
you
would
guys
be
think.
up in the top ones, right? Something that Samuel replies or says to Saul, which is we've kind of slimmed down, but to obey is better than sacrifice. His version, obedience is better than sacrifice. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I had a pastor that I worked for using the story of Samuel's rebuke of Saul's obedience, and he said partial obedience is still disobedience, and his was way more aggressive, but the heart is still absolutely true. His was still without the grace and understanding of God's redemptive work. But there's a partiality that I think most of us take in reading God's word, and even the following of God's word, which is, well, that's just not relevant, and it's just not. And it's like, well, you're missing the obedience of, let's at minimum go to the heart and intention of this law. So you can go, well, do the 10 Commandments really apply to me now? Stop. What was the intention and heart of this? And look at each of these. They still do apply. They still do matter. And so, yes, are we falling short of this? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think to some of our leaders, but even just, yeah, like maybe you're just a leader in your home, you're a leader in your community, you're called to lead in your life in so many ways. Looking at what have you allowed, because it feels like partial obedience feels like it's enough, feels like it fulfills the full written idea of this. And so without there's so many extreme examples that you can go to, but just kind of a simple one is like, yeah, I maybe don't sleep with other women, but I still like kiss other women. Like, is that, and
Right.
that sounds silly, like, but I'm married. What I committed to was body, mind, spirit. I'm fully hers and she is fully mine, and I don't give that away. Now, is the grace of God going to forgive me, and could she forgive? Sure. But that is not our plan B. That's an abuse of grace. And so as leaders, I think we have to framework that, and man, what a great net that grace, the grace of God has for us as leaders. But man, don't abuse that. And it seems like Samuel was a great net for Saul here. Catches him a couple times, rebukes him, and we finally get to this point in the story of Endor where Samuel is back from the dead and gives this final announcement of Saul. It's no longer that your reign is going to end. It's no longer that it won't pass along anymore. It's, Saul, you're going to end now. This is how far we've gone. In God's grace, he's slowly pulled back from the things that should have been in the authority of your role, but now just you got to be done, and like this has to be done here now. So
Yeah. There's one thing I think about when I think of this, and I think of like today Christians going to like a psychic, or having their fortune read or that kind of thing, and like I've seen videos of people trying to explain this away or justify it, like, well, I'm just not hearing from God. I mean, kind of the same thing. I'm just not hearing the Lord. I need answers. I'm just, and so you go outside of the systems that God has set up, and to try to find these answers, and it never ends well. And I mean, this is that exactly. Like, Saul thinks he's going to get the answers that he's looking for, when really, like, I mean, he's even more devastated than if he would have done this. And so I think this is like a cautionary tale in my mind too, as far as like, look at this story and learn what not to do. Don't when God says don't do something, maybe listen to it, that kind of thing. So,
and I would make it. It's not a one-to-one metaphor, but I think reaction-wise, this is, I'm deep in debt and so I go to the mob to borrow. I'm so scared I'm going to do something that is actually going to destroy my future, or whatever. Just a reaction that is there's no life in it. So
this just makes me think of thoughts that I've had before. Okay, so like I've mentioned before that, like obviously I've mentioned before that I struggle with my weight. I'm trying to get down. I'm actually doing well with it now, but
nice.
Before like when I didn't want to change what I was eating, and I didn't want to exercise, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And the thought actually crossed my mind. Now I never entertained it, but I'm just telling you, the thought crossed my mind. I'm like, well, maybe I could get on meth for a little bit, because that always thins people out, and like
rock stars are often skinny.
I thought you were gonna go like Ozempic.
No. Way more extreme, way more stupid. Just the extremity, like the extremeness that our mind goes to when we just feel like we need answers right now.
Yeah,
like we will go way outside of what's logical at all.
Yeah.
To try to cure what's ailing us right this moment. And so
I'm gonna get a Dyson, some surgical tube, and some duct tape.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do liposuction on myself. Nothing can go wrong.
It's gonna be perfect, because the fat just floats there, right? Like that's how that works. I think there's definitely, I mean, it's always existed. I think this story is definitely a testament to the anxiety always existing within man. That there's this, and anxiety is this I don't know, and the deep struggle of either a lack of control about the I don't know, or the I should have control, or I do have some sort of control, but I don't know what to do with what I have. And so you get Saul here. I think through his life, you get different sides of it. It's the I don't know what to do, but I have to do something. And then he knows exactly what he's supposed to do, but there's like this analysis paralysis. There's a decision fatigue potentially that comes from this. And anxiety is a very real thing. It's one that we see the biblical writers and authors over and over again kind of hitting. Some of them just through the stories of the people that we read about, and then you get just outright messages from Paul and Jesus and the apostles of not to worry and to cast your cares and to cast your anxieties upon God, who cares for you. And Jesus' message of not worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow's got plenty of worries for itself, and how to stay present. But then this fight or flight is something that needs to be addressed within ourselves. That when we buck up against something that is different from what our flesh desires. The Bible talks this dynamic between your flesh and your spirit. That they're especially like Paul in Romans, he has this very like famous line of I know the good I ought to do, but I don't do it, and then the good I do, he just he has this war against what should be and all this stuff. To kind of embrace that when you feel like running away from God, or you feel like the fight against him, not the wrestling of your faith. I think that's really good. That's important. But the fight of, you know what, I'm just going to do me. Like that kind of fight. Let that I'm going to do math. Like that extreme, that's a fight response, and so recognize that as signals of running to God, not signals of fear. And so the anxiety is always going to be there, but what do you do with that? And so what we should get from Saul, from King Saul, is that when he feels the anxiety of the enemy, he shouldn't fight. he shouldn't like just go right into how can I solve, how can I do this. The answer was, well, Saul, now you need to develop your own relationship with God. You have to go reach out for him. You have to set up places where new prophets, new people could step up and be the voice of God. But you have not done any of that despite direction. So here's where we're at. We're gonna sleep in the bed that we made.
Yeah.
Yeah, honesty is difficult to the point of almost impossible. And
Yeah.
and it's mostly honesty with yourself. So there's the self-preservation that Eric's talking about, that we can, our reaction to pressure can be, oh, I didn't do that, or, and that's the simplest version, or just spin it in a way that isn't as harsh and stuff. And so there's shame and so many other things. And shame right now is often, there's a lot to do with shame that is not helpful. But that doesn't mean that all of shame is unhelpful. There are parts of shame that make society, help society function. And also the lack of shame creates websites like People of Walmart. And so we can get some humor out of it. But, so there's elements of it that are useful tools when they stop being useful and become toxic. A little side note on that, but Saul responds to things we're getting the summarized version of stories, even though they may seem long. We're not getting the individual interactions he's having with people that aren't Samuel, that aren't the people, the one he's trying to learn from, and so. When, for example, the country gets pulled from Saul and given to David, effectively, Samuel confronts him, and Saul seems to go, or he says, "I've sinned and disobeyed the Lord's instruction." It seems like he's asking for forgiveness, and that's what he's saying. Please forgive my sin and come back with me. Samuel says, "Nope, I won't go." As Samuel turns, Saul grabs him again and says, "Please come," effectively saying it again. And Samuel gets even more direct. "Nope, this thing's done. You're done. This is the way it's going." And so if we're New Testament people are like, "Well, God forgives, and why does he not forgive?" It might be one of your thoughts, or it could be one of them. This isn't about that. And by the third time, it becomes clear the reason what is going on. And Saul pleaded again, "I know I've sinned. Please honor me before the elders, my people, and before Israel. Come back with me so that I may worship the Lord, your God." So we're like, well, he should have forgiven. He's not asking sincerely. He's not coming with the right point of view. And so my point isn't to rip on Saul, because I think I have the propensity to do that very thing. And that I'm not the poster child. Well, if I'm a poster child, then let it be for I screw up and I don't do things, but that attitude or that awareness, trying to keep that in front of us without it destroying us. It's not. We can be self-critical without being terrible to ourselves. It's a tough road, but it's what helps you be better. If you're able to go, you know what, I did do the run today, but I could have, I recognize where I didn't show up. Or whatever it is. There's times that I'll preach, and sometimes I'm unhappy when I'm done. And I've learned every once in a while, there's a bunch of reasons for that. One of the possible reasons is I knew I wasn't prepared. And it has zero to do with anyone coming up and saying that was great or whatever. I'm unhappy because I didn't solve something, which means I didn't do the work. It probably might not even gone into the message. It was that I wasn't prepared, and I know the difference between me prepared completely the way I need to be and what other people perceive. It's not about that. And so I'm not trying to emphasize me or even an individual. I'm saying that when we know we're not doing what we can do. And nor am I saying and not preparing, I'm sinning. None of that. Throw it off. Simply an illustration of that type of honesty is hard, but it's required if we're going to grow, if we're going to get better. And this is something that Saul seemed to struggle with. And it continues by the time he's dealing with David, this is still absolutely going on. This is what leads to running to where the Ewoks live. For those of you who don't know, Ewoks, Star Wars, they were on the moon was called Endor, where the Ewoks were, and the witch is in Endor. There you go.
Very good. Very good. So I have another question, and I feel like this is going to be a hard discussion for you right now, Greg. But humor us, okay? So I know this isn't the point of the story. But
You're gonna be like, why do your hands shake all the time?
No. The spirit of Samuel
Yeah.
comes back.
Yeah.
So for the longest time as a follower of Jesus, I didn't believe in ghosts and spirits being here after death and all that. And then I read this, and then I was like, hang on. Now, obviously, like conjures the spirit, from the dead or whatever. But like, did he leave heaven and come back? Or like, I know like heaven, like Sheol is the Old Testament thing, but like, what is going on with that? Like, cause again, when I was a young Christian at first, I was like, nope, no such thing as ghosts, right? Like, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe ghosts are demons manifesting themselves to look like the human form or whatever. But then I'm like, and then I read this, I'm like, that's not a demon, right? Like this is the actual spirit of Samuel having this interaction, and like, just what does this tell us? Like, how does this, like, I don't even know the question. Like, how should this inform our belief system about the afterlife and that kind of thing? Because I think a lot of Christians believe, like, when I die, I go right to heaven. Mm-hmm. Well, this would seemingly tell me otherwise. So, like, what do you guys think about that?
I'd begin with remember the point of the story first and foremost. What is going on in the story? What's it doing in the text? What in the context and everything else? That's the main thing. If you don't know and can't really have a conversation about it, then this is a side trail. This is a side quest to your game that is interesting, but not vital. When we start, even if we take this and go, oh, this affects my view of heaven. Does it? There's so little information about this. I don't know that it does give. It can create some really interesting questions, which are, man, do it and do the work. If anyone says this is absolutely what this is, move on to a different person because even if they're right, they're misusing the amount of information they have. So they're just not doing good thought. But all that to say, all that caveat, that make sure you get locked in before you go on a side quest. I would say that I'll begin with, I genuinely don't know. I'm not, what do I do then with things that I don't know? When I get to the place that I really do care, I'll start researching it. And so I'll try to find people that have done some work. There's not going to be a ton on this, which should also inform you if someone is locked in on this is what this means. The people that are best at this are not publishing a ton about this, so it might not be enough information. So what we have is the word God there, or what are other versions? What the version you read? What does it say? I see
God.
Okay, that NLT.
Yeah, so it has like a little mark in the NLT.
yeah.
It says gods
Yeah.
and lowercase g, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure of the Hebrew word.
It's
but that,
it's
yeah.
Elohim
Oh,
is the
okay.
Hebrew word. So I was interested in how I'm going to do a quick add parallel, so I can see. NIV calls it. Sorry, guys. NIV translates it as I see a ghostly figure, and basically they're. If I'm there, I imagine NIV is trying to go, well, it's not God, it's not, and so it's a spirit or a ghost or something, and that seems to be the tension there is that we have a felt tension that this Elohim is the word that's used, by the way, in Genesis 1, and many other times referring to even the creator God. So are we talking about that? Because it's the same word. And this is where we go, oh, wait a minute. And why the translators are dealing with this is they're like, wait a minute, it doesn't, the application of this same word is different here than it is in Genesis 1. This doesn't mean that they're both the same thing. It means the application is different, so it changes the way the word actually works. And we do this all the time. I'm trying to, if I think of an example, I'll bring it up. But so anyway, what she sees, it can be translated. I see Elohim, which is technically it's a plural. That HIM, it creates a plural of it, and so it could be Elo. What does she see? We have to go, well, something's coming up. How does that affect our view of the spirit and stuff? For me, at the level that I've studied, which is very little on this subject, I go, oh, I think there's stuff that maybe that I don't know about. And it creates some humility about my tendency toward physical, everything can be reasoned out based on data and things like that. And I have to go, oh, I don't think everything can be. I think there are influences and things that happen that are outside of me. But I also go, this is one reference among all the references. And there's a few others, obviously. So I don't want to jump to the spirit thing is the biggest thing. And I'm not talking about the Holy Spirit. I'm talking about the so-called spiritual. And right now, if you're listening and you're like, but these verses and stuff, calm down. I don't hate you. I'm not contradicting you. I'm simply saying that where the majority of the data is where we should be kind of gathering our footing. This should be the foundation of our house. And if I can start putting in nice windows and things, that's great. But your nice windows without the foundation are pointless. So make sure that foundation's solid and things like that. And then start figuring out which windows also belong in the house. And so I would call this one of the windows. Fascinating. And there's some great stuff. I'll recommend someone that I haven't started reading, but I do have a book from, which I'll go on. Who's ever going to say it? And no, here it is. Dr. Michael Heiser passed away a couple years ago, but among his books is The Unseen Realm, Recovering Supernatural Worldview of the Bible. One of my favorite authors is N.T. Wright, and he actually it wasn't so much of a recommendation of Heiser, but he didn't go, that's crud. That's no good. He was like, the guy's an actual scholar who has done great Bible work, and he talks about the spiritual. He's got other books about demons and angels and things like that. So I think in that, my hope is finding some really solid information about things that by somebody who's a genuine scholar who's doing good work, but it's about things that maybe I don't have immediate access to and information about.
Yeah. I think there's, alongside that, I think there's something to look at in these kinds of stories where you go, this feels odd, which is why we're talking about it. And let's just maybe even go a little more distant than odd. This maybe feels foreign, like this feels culturally odd, distant, that God would use. And we'll come across this a couple of different times reading when we talk about animal sacrifices and this type of stuff, where you go, this just feels culturally odd to what I would understand to be a character of God. So where else can we see these similar things happening? And so just study tools. Bible Gateway usually does some really great cross references. Using concordances and commentaries, you'll usually get cross references of things like that. But I would say that there's two things happening here to look at how this has happened before, to know that this isn't a singular event. One, we've talked about this in a previous episode. God has previously used those who practice divination to accomplish His purpose,
And He will do it in the Bible again. So
Right.
yeah.
Correct, 100%. And so we did this with the story of the donkey speaking and all this type of stuff, and like this. So it happens. That's happened before, where God has used someone who uses divination, witchcraft. I don't think it necessarily points to anything demonic necessarily here, but again, trying to divine future or a way outside of God's way would be what we're looking at here. And then the second time that we see a spirit of a previous human rising. I mean, you could just go look at the Transfiguration in Matthew, where Moses and Elijah have a conversation with Jesus. We don't know what the conversation was. Even in this, we get a couple sentences from Samuel on what this is, and again, whole other podcast even talking about that one. But we do see this happen before. We see it happening in this way. Does that happen now? That's one of the difficult things, I think, in a post Jesus resurrection, the promise of the Holy Spirit, is we all have, it seems to be, a greater access to the words of God and understanding of God. We have the Bible in its wholeness, so we have a deeper understanding of what God is and what He's saying, and so it then sprouts up a whole lot of opinions and a lot of understandings, and then you have to deal with the frailty of man. That then, when we realize that you can get people to side with you if you claim a certain power or you claim a certain understanding, and so then it's hard to. I think this is where we're called to test the spirit of something, meaning does this feel in alignment? God will give us a confidence, a peace when something feels aligned. And so I don't know if you guys have ever had someone prophesy over you before. We've had it a couple different times. We had a pastor that I really respect, but I think was unfortunately just off in this. When we were pregnant with our third son, we didn't know the gender, and he came up to us and put his hand on my wife's stomach, who was just starting to show at that point, and we told everybody that she was pregnant, so he didn't come up with this. But he prophesied that my son was going to be a girl, and talked about the sweet spirit and caring and all this stuff. And and if you know my youngest son Rigby, if you're an animal, he has the sweetest, most caring spirit towards it. If you're his dad, he does not. So here's what I took from this is, and maybe this is just what I want to believe, and I'm going to choose it to be right. He misinterpreted the spirit of this child to be the characteristics of what would be typically female. But I'm still believing in the word that was delivered, which was, this is going to be a sweet, caring child who is that's gonna help others. It's gonna be hospitable to what we've talked about a couple weeks ago. So, with that being said, I now think in those perspectives about my son of, hey, this is and looking for other opportunities for God to confirm that. Does that help at all? Like I know I kind of spread a little bit past this, but I just want to the testing of spirits, looking at where is the Bible already confirmed something like this, and if it's a one-time situation, I think it's okay and healthy. And maybe you guys can tell me wrong. I think it's okay and healthy to go, this was written for a certain time and a certain people in a certain way. And so if it's one time, let's just leave it where it is. And we don't need to create new theology off of this one time instance. And off of this, what we can start creating about our perspective of who God is and how he wants to work with us is he can do all things through whoever, however, and whatever way he wants to. And including in this. And he wanted to get a message to Saul. Who was Saul going to listen to? He was going to listen to Samuel.
Yeah. And to push even more on what data we have, this is also doing work of why was Saul rejected? Samuel's words to him, rebellion is the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is bad as worshiping is idolatry. And because you've rejected the command of the Lord. So there was the immediate rejection, but there's an overall problem with Saul here, that this is even possible for him to be willing to do. And so then I found a quote by that Michael Heiser guy that from a few years ago. The Bible, referencing this, the Bible prohibits contacting the dead, not because doing so was impossible, but because it was possible. That this is not a good thing. This is even if you can't, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean there's anything positive or profitable about this. This is a display of Saul completely rejecting who he had claimed to be and who he was following, and it's utterly revealed here. And Samuel confirms that in what he says to Saul.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say, and then we can wrap it up because I know, Eric, you got to get going. In regards to like the ghost spirit thing, like all that, like I've with having the foundation of what the story's about and building up, all that, ancillary stuff, I've really come to the conclusion that I don't know. Like, do ghosts exist? I don't know. Do do demons manifest themselves as human ghosts? I don't know, and I don't think we're supposed to. The spirit, don't get me wrong, like the spirit world exists and all that, but like, if again, like you guys have said it, and I'm just gonna beat a dead horse here. If God wanted us to know, there would be way more data. Yeah. It would be in there for us to know. But what's in here for us to know? How to know God, how to obey him, and how to love people and show them who he is. That's what's in there. And so, like, again, you said it multiple times, Greg. It's okay to ask these questions, but don't forget the main point. And like that, do ghosts exist or not? That the conclusion I've come to is I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So,
yeah. But if you're interested, just find good people that you're studying. Do work, man. Do it. Yeah. Limit the effect, but remember the primary things that these guys are talking about. And but man, study. Yeah. Do it. Yeah. Do great work.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. That's our episode, guys. That's episode 16.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. So if you guys are enjoying the Odd Testament podcast, we'd love your support. And here's how you can do that. Here's how you can help us to keep bringing all this awesome content is show us some love. And first way you can do that is by rating and reviewing us on whatever platform you listen on, whether YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen.
MySpace.
Rate us 5 stars, review us. If you don't like what we're doing, tell us in the reviews why you don't, but give that 5-star review to get our attention. So next, don't forget to subscribe. So you never miss our latest content. You never miss the posts that we make on social media. You never miss our episodes that drop every Monday. Like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good stuff. And finally, follow us on social media. Again, for all updates and recaps and highlights. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What are you saying?
Stan us. Did I misuse it?
I'm so distracted right now.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Follow us. Get on.
Yes.
Get on the
follow us
socials.
on social media and comment, interact. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your answers to the get to know you questions. If you have content you want us to cover, we'd love to hear that too. So we want to hear from you. Join the conversation on social media. Your support
Brian is
means
doing
the world
dances
to-
on TikTok.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's how he's dropping
Yeah.
the LBs. So anyway, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So what's your paragraph? Sorry.
No, you're good. Your guys' support means the world to us, and together we can keep bringing this odd content to the world. Boys, thanks for
Bet.
joining me. Have a good one.
You too.
Nice. 100.
100%. Bet.